Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new process video, and as you can see, I'm working on New York. This is for my September album, and I already have one item here that I want to use. This is from a set of cut-aparts. It came on a 12 by 12 sheet, meant to be cut out, and there were a bunch of different things on there, so I just want to show you. I actually bought two of them because I go to New York so often. So here's a bunch of other things. So there's this thing that says Broadway. There's this, which I've already used on another layout. This, JFK. Some other things that are in there as well. Central Park, love that. Brooklyn Bridge, all of these. These are going to be hard for me to use because I never use taxis. In New York City, I walk, take the subway, or use the bus. I don't do the taxi. So there's the other one, and then there's this one. And I thought about doing this, but I wasn't just in Manhattan. So I don't really want that to be at the front of an album when I was actually in some of the other boroughs as well. So put all these back in my pile here. So I decided this one would probably be the best to use. So I have that, but I don't know what else to do with it. I have a 4x8 as my opening page. I've already done the other side. There it is. But I need to do this one. So obviously I will need a background, and I will put this on there. And oh, there's a nice piece of hair there. Sorry about that. I will find a background. I want to put my dates on there, probably with just a label or something. But I don't really know how I want to match this in the background. I thought about doing a light yellow because of the torch there, but I could also do like a very subtle black and white pattern if I wanted to. So I think I'm just going to look through my stash first of my scraps to see, do I have either of those options where I could easily just use what I have and not have to cut into something else. Okay, I've looked through the papers that I had in my stash where I just throw remnants of pages. Plus, then I did have some 6x8 and 6x12 pieces in my bin. I keep a bin at all times for New York and Chicago because I'm in both of those places so often. So I looked through all that. This was the only yellow piece I had. You can see it's a little messed up there, kind of on the edge, so I would cut it this way. But it is a pretty good match to the torch there. So certainly I could cut that down. And then these are the other papers I had. I only had one 6x8 that was in there. That's like way too busy. I'm not going to use that. This isn't the right blue, so I'm sure that won't get used. And then everything else is a pretty wild pattern. I have this paper, which is made to look like the subway. Does that have anything? Oh, yep, trains on the other side. Too busy as well, I feel like. I have this one, which I love the geotags, but green is not the right color. Same here, love the orange, and it's just a camera, but it's not the right color. This is what's on the other side. I do have this one, which it's yellow, but it's not the right yellow. And I don't know, I feel like that is way too busy. I mean, New York is busy, so it's not like that wouldn't go, but I just feel like that background is a little too much. And then, let's see here. Oh, I had more of each of those. I forgot that. So this is that same blue paper I showed before. And then I have these again because these were the 12 by 12s. Cut them in half and you have two, right? So that's kind of all I had. So if I don't like any of those, I would have to go into my regular bin of 6x8 and 6x12 papers and see if any of those would work. And I'm willing to do that. But looking at these has kind of shown me that if I want to use it as a background, it has to be a very subtle print. It can't be something like this. That's too much with what's going on. So I'm keeping this as number one right now, but I will look through the other bin just in case. When I went to put those other papers back in my New York and Chicago bin, I actually found another piece of paper that was wedged in the back that I didn't see at first, and it's this one. And I don't hate this because there is gray in it. It's a different gray, but there is gray. It is a kind of busy pattern, but I kind of like it. Just because it does show the buildings, and high rises, skyscrapers, that kind of stuff. I feel like maybe I could get away with that, especially if I just chose like a solid label for when I'm doing my dates, I feel like maybe that would counteract it. And then I could work in a yellow label or yellow embellishments of some kind to bring out what I want. So I think I am gonna cut a chunk of this down to a 4x8 and then just see what I think. There we have it. I cut down a piece to the 4x8 size, and you know what? I like it. I'm going to use it. I am thinking though that either I want a matte maybe in yellow, or I should just do some washi on the edges to be yellow, or I could cut off some very thin strips of this to use top and bottom to bring that in. I'm not sure what exactly I'm going to do, but I do want to bring in some of that yellow for sure. But at least I know now I like the background, seeing it cut to size, and I'm going to go with it. All right, so I cut down this little sliver off the big piece of yellow that I had, and I just went 1/4 inch. So it's 1/4 inch as is. Now I'm going to cut it the other way widthwise so that I can have a top and bottom here, and then we'll see if I like it. I think I will, just because of the color, but I'm going to cut it and then I'll line it all up and we'll see. That's how it looks with the strips there. They're not adhered yet, but I have them down and I like it. So I'm definitely going to go with that, and I think I'm going to keep it pretty much centered. I might shift it slightly to the top, but not a whole lot, because I think I want my dates somewhere down here, but I still want enough. I want enough room up top so I could do something here, like a geotag, maybe, or just some kind of travel related piece of ephemera, embellishment, something. But at least I know I'm going to keep this. I do like how that looks. I think it's just the right amount of a pop of yellow. Since I have this all done now, I want to pick out my label, and I want to match the statue here. So I've pulled out my labels that are in that color. Like this one right here already looks like a pretty good match. But I've pulled all these out to find what I want. It has to be big enough that I could potentially fit 2 rows of dates if I'm going to use my date stamper. I have a roller stamper. Actually, I have several. So if I want to do that, it has to be a somewhat wider label. Like not that wide. That's pretty big. But maybe, like, you know, that's probably close to what I would need. So I would just have to make sure that I have enough room to do that. But I could cop out and just handwrite it. So it really depends. I have to figure out what I like, how I feel to look, whatever. And this was September, so I have to look to make sure I have the exact dates and get them right, because I have been known to think, oh, I know when I was there, and then I write it or stamp it and find out I was off by 1 day or something. So I will double check in my phone to make sure I have the right dates, and then I can fill that in. Okay, so when I was looking at this, figuring out my dates, by the way, it was September 12th through the 14th. So I have that. But I was looking at my rollers. I forgot I actually have 3. They're all a little bit different. So this one is an old Heidi Swap one I have, and it has cursive writing for the month, and then you put in your dates and then the year. But all of the fully set dates, we've passed them. So then she thought ahead. When she made this, it has a line I can fill in. So it says 20, and then you just fill in the last 2. So I could potentially use that. This is another old one I have from A Beautiful Mess. I thought this one was done already and I needed to like chuck it, but apparently not. It goes through 2026. So I have like one more, or wait, is it 2025? No, it is 2026. And then it starts back around. So I have one more year that I can use this. So that's an option. And then this one I bought fairly recently. This one is good until 2032. So no worries on that. So I just need to decide which one I want to do. And I don't know that I want the cursive here. It's going to be one of these labels. I could certainly fit it in here, but it does take up more room. I mean, look how wide that is compared to some of the others. So I don't think it's going to be this one. It'll be one of these. I just have to decide which one I want. I decided to test all 3 in the end, just to see what I liked the best. And I forgot. So the first one is the Cocoa Daisy. This is done in European format. I forgot that they have the date first and then the month. The middle one is A Beautiful Mess one. That one goes very standard in order. And then this last one is the Heidi swap with the cursive. And I did catch an edge there, so if I decide to use it, I have to be very careful. I thought that this one was significantly larger after you stamp it out, but not really. I mean, from here to here, that isn't that much different than these. I feel like I could squeeze that in, especially if I use the bigger label. So now that I've tested them all, I'm even more unsure of which one I want. You know, this is kind of cool to have a little bit of a different aspect there with the date. I just have to be careful that, you know, I don't catch an edge. That's always a challenge. I did my stamping, and sadly I did catch an edge. I tried so hard to ink it correctly and not push too hard, but it's there. What are you going to do? So I'm at least going to fill in this part. So I have that, and then I'm just going to put my little dash right in there. So I'll have that ready. Then I can easily cut that off, the part that I don't need, and that's fine. And then I think I'm going to look for a little something that I can put right there to cover up that mark. I thought I wanted a geotag there, but then I came across these stickers in my stash, and I kind of like the idea of just having a bag. And I like this one, although the blues are not exactly the same. But I could even use this one. Now it does say pack up. I think I might cut that off and just use the black and overlap it that way. On that same sheet of stickers, they had little silver planes on there. And I did fly in. I did not take the train. I flew in, so I used one of those. I would like a visual triangle though, in a way, or at least have 3 items so that I have the uneven number. So I have those. I think up here I'm going to do something, and I had a piece of, it was like a vellum embellishment, but it was silver foil on it, but it's way too big. I tried it. It's way too big. But I do have, I think, let me look over here. Yes, I do. I have these. And so I'm wondering if I could just use one of those up at the top to kind of overlay this or something, and if that would look okay. All right, so I have my star here. I think I originally thought maybe here, but I don't want them right on top of each other. I think I want to go a little to the left, and then it's also not right above the torch. So maybe like there. Is that pretty straight? I think it is. There we go. How's that look? You know what? I like it. And I feel like this is just enough black that I have some top and bottom that it works. So I'm not going to do anything else with this one. I think it's fine. So here's my opening page done for New York in September. Thanks for watching.